Hey, good morning, folks. This is Steve Sparks, Children and Families and Life After Trauma, CFLAT, www.survivethriveptsd.org. So I'd like you to go there to my website because you can learn a lot from it about me, my family, the work I've done in Lincoln County for the last 17 years, mostly community building, community service. Served on the Depot Bay City Council, served for 6 years on the Neighbors for Kids board. In 2016, I teamed up with Commissioner Claire Hall, Sheriff Curtis Landers, and a pretty impressive team of collaborators from all over the state of Oregon, Lincoln County, the Tri-County. The Stepping Up Initiative was a huge project. It was a historical project for Lincoln County, Oregon. We had to come together with a really strong effort, with a really strong collaborative effort, with everybody on board at the table to make this happen. And I'm going to get to that later. I'm going to get to all the issues in Lincoln County. And in the coming days, I'm going to talk about those issues. And we're going to create a conversation about that. And I'm going to work with the people I know to make that happen, and I'll get to that later. But the first thing I want to do is tell you a bit about me and my life, and why a guy like me who should be retired because I'm 75 years old would even think of running for commissioner of Lincoln County, Oregon, and get on the May ballot, okay? I'm asked that question, why do you want to do that, Steve? Well, I'm going to do that by telling you a story that I hope you will relate to or not relate to, and it may be long, so you can take a break anytime and come back to it. That's why I'm doing it this way. I would not be able to do it again because it's emotional. I have my Kleenex here. I'm old, so I cry. So if I cry, and I'm not even going to stop this, so you're going to have to put up with me for a little bit here. And if it is triggering, then I want you to turn it off and pause and take a break and come back, okay? Because this is not easy for me to tell this story, and I'm only going to do it once, all right? I'm not going to do it again because I want to get to the issues, and I want to have a conversation with you folks on the challenges that we have right now in Lincoln County, Oregon, and how important this election is in May, all right? So let me pause for a moment, and then I want to introduce a couple of people that are extremely important in my life. So I'll do that now. First, I want to introduce my father. That's Vernon H. Sparks. He was born in 1918 in Eldred, Minnesota. He grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota during the Depression. And I'll put my dad down, but I wanted you to look at it for a moment, and maybe there's some light on it. But that's my dad in 1943 when the USS Belgrove in LSD was commissioned in San Francisco in February, just before he headed out to the Pacific War, and he was out there for 25 months fighting for us. So there he is. That's my dad, Vernon. My dad. All right. And I'll pause and let you look at my dad. He was only 27 years old, and he was chief boatswain's mate, the first chief boatswain's mate on the USS Belgrove LSD. You can Google the USS Belgrove, and that's the ship my dad served on and fought for us in 8 campaigns in the Pacific. So that's my dad, Vernon. Think about him for a moment, and then I'm going to tell my story. All right? So I attended a USS West Virginia, that's the battleship USS West Virginia annual conference in Seattle, Washington in 2016. These are some of the shipmates my dad served with. Most of them are gone, and there was 2 of them there I met who were actually serving with my father on December 7th, 1941, a little bit after 8 a.m. So here's the story, folks. And my dad wrote this, and I have this from his medical records, and so I'll tell you the story. And I think from this story, you will understand my soul and why I'm running for Lincoln County Commissioner. You ready? Bear with me, because I may have to pause. And it can be triggering, I guarantee it. I was on the 3rd deck, heading for the anchor windlass room when the first torpedo hit the USS West Virginia. From there, more bombing and torpedoes when all hell broke loose. Men in the brig were screaming for help. I could not respond. There was no time to check where the Marine Guard was with the keys to the cells. Evidently, he had already been hit. The men in the brig were engulfed in water and perished. I worked my way up to the 2nd deck with water up to my waist. By this time, I came to a hatch with a manhole still open leading to the main deck. I barely made it out of the escape hatch and was ordered by Lieutenant Stark to close that hatch. The men were still down there, but it was too late for them. That was the first time I heard that the Japs were attacking our fleet and the whole island. I watched one of my best shipmates get himself killed, Roy Powers. He stuck his head out of the port side close to the shipfitter's shop. And about that time, another torpedo hit, and the concussion blew his head off. His body fell back on the deck, headless. Imagine that. Your father's friend falling back headless. After that, it was a matter of surviving. There was no defense. The ship was already listing to port at about 35 degrees angle. I worked myself up further on the deck and observed that Commanding Officer Mervyn S. Banyan heading for the bridge. The strafing and bombing was still on. When I arrived on the main deck going forward to the number 1 turret, strafing still going, I dived under the overhanging of the turret. Communication was out, so by word of mouth heard the order, all hands abandon ship. Captain Benyon was lying on the wing of the bridge, mortally wounded. He asked the doc what kind of chance he had, and was told, "Not much, Captain." Then Captain Banyan said, "Leave me on the bridge, and this is my last order. All hands abandon ship." He died right after that. After that order, I jumped over the side to the starboard and swam to Ford Island. Us guys that made it were standing on the beach watching the USS Arizona blow sky high. What a helpless feeling. I had torn my white uniform up to use as emergency treatment, bandages for the wounded. Anyway, to make a long story short, we dashed across the field under strafing conditions to shelter. In the BOQ, we were able to shower in there and salvage clothes from there, from the lockers, and helped organize the harbor patrol. And it was with that duty for a few months, then assigned to new construction with the 8th Amphibious Force, hitting the beaches of the South Pacific, all the way, then finally Iwo Jima and Okinawa, until the peace treaty was signed. Aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo, Japan. People like myself could go on and on, but that would take a book. I wrote that book, and I'll show it to you in a minute. This is from Vernon H. Sparks, December 7th, 1941, battleship USS West Virginia. And this is from the ship's crew muster, Vernon H. Sparks. Coxswain. All right? That's it. That's my soul. That's the man who lives in my heart and soul. This is my book, Reconciliation, a Son Story. There's my dad when he was a coxswain aboard that ship. There's my mom Marcella Sparks, and there's the USS West Virginia right there while my dad was swimming to Ford Island on December 7th, 1941. Do you see that? That's it. And on the back of the book, there's the USS Belgrove where my dad was chief boatswain's mate when the ship was commissioned in February of 1943. You see that? Think about it. Look at that. So, yeah, this is emotional, folks. And it should be. Because that's where boomers come from. I was born on July 6, 1946, and I'm 75 years old. I've been sick. A lot of people have been sick. We've served. I've served in the United States Navy during the Vietnam era. Many, many boomers like me did. And we're sick and tired of the division in America. I watched President Joe Biden last night. Joe's tough. And don't you think he isn't. And you watch what's going to happen here. And everybody can say whatever they want about him, but he comes from my generation and we're tough. We're tough old you know what? And we don't give up. We never, ever give up. So don't you give up. And I'm not giving up. I'm 75 and I can't walk so much anymore. And I'm crabby sometimes, but I'm tough. You know, I served. I've been an executive. I've been in all the boardrooms in America. Worked for Nortel Networks, and we built the internet, you know. So I've been there, done that, you know. Sometimes people look at us when we retire here on the Oregon coast and they say, what the hell are those guys doing? Why don't they just stay home? Well, I'm here to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to run for Lincoln County Commissioner. I'm going to win it. And I don't even care if I win it. What I can do is talk about the issues. And I know them intimately, like no other person in the county, the Tri-County, the state of Washington, or anywhere in America. And I'm going to talk about those issues in the coming weeks and the months. And I'm going to work with everybody on the ground who I know, care for, and love, that we've worked together all these years. And we're going to talk about those issues. And I'm going to challenge all the other candidates, and they know who I am. And everybody knows who Steve Sparks is, and they know my family. They know me here in Little Whale Cove where I live, and they know I'm tough. You know what? I'm really tough. So, you know what? There's no standing down for me. I'm going to go here in the coming months. If I don't win in the primary, I'm okay with that. But I'll at least get to talk about the issues. And I'm going to do it here on my couch. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't need any funding. I'm self-funded. You know, so don't bother making donations to me. I don't want it, okay? I don't need it. I have my own media platform. I built it so I could go back to work. I need to work. That's my life. So I'm not going to sit here at home and watch the news. You know, I'm going to work. And because I'm running on the ballot, you're going to have to put up with me now. You can't push back on it, okay? So, with that, I'm going to smile because I'm happy. And I got to tell you my story, so I don't have to tell it again, okay? So next time, every day, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to share with you a lot of the issues. And I think I'm going to pick up where I left off last time, and it's about leadership. I'm going to talk about leadership next time, okay? So you all have a good day. I am. And it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time, okay? See you later.